Joe, welcome back to Mea Culpa. Great to see you, mustache, beard, and all. So look, there's so much going on. I don't blame you for not shaving. Very soon, with the price of imports, a 10% increase, the price for razor blades are going to go through the roof, just like your eggs and just like everything else. But there's so much chaos going on. I want to jump right in and ask you the following. Just when you thought that things couldn't get stranger, Trump goes on and publicly claims that the United States will own the Gaza. How do you interpret that statement? And do you believe it's just bluster? Or do you think there's an actual policy or a concept of a policy behind it?
No, there's no concept of a policy. There's an obvious desire to own beachfront Trump Tower somewhere. Always. I think that's what it's all fantasy, but it's clearly not policy because, as anybody knows, like that particular strip of land, if owned by the U.S., would just be talk about a forever war of trying just to maintain the place being not being attacked, et cetera. Would be crazy. I mean, it's totally insane. All of it's insane. We know that. But I think he definitely, you know him better than anybody. You know him, he's a real estate dude. He wants to own the world. And why
okay,
not
but
Joe,
hold on a second. There's real estate all over the world. We're not taking over Punta del Este in Uruguay. We're not taking over the French Riviera, right?
No,
Next thing you know, Mexico. Well, not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, Italy. We're not going there and taking over. Capri, right? I mean, or Capri. Right, we're not taking them over. Why Gaza? And here's the crazier thing that I cannot put my hands on. You had Bibi Netanyahu standing there smiling like the fucking jerk off that he is, right? As if this is funny, as if Israel even has the right within which to give the land to America, as Donald was saying. I'm confused here. Who owns the land? Whose land is it? And can the land just be gifted to America by Israel? I'm confused.
No, none of that can happen. But I think it serves Netanyahu's interests to have the president of the United States say, "Hey, we should get all the Palestinians out of there. There should be a nice place for them to go. Everybody else should take them." Because they can't go back and we need to rebuild it and it could be a beautiful place with Trump Tower on it. None of that can happen, but it helps Bibi for the president of the United States to say it. It helps Trump because of whatever crazy idea he has of expand Trump imperialism now. And reality, as we know, has nothing to do with him. So, he thinks he can muscle reality into being. I think that this is another one of those build the wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. None of it's going to happen, but it serves Bibi's Netanyahu's. It served him to be sitting there with the president saying Palestinians should go somewhere else. We can make it a big, beautiful place, and the United States could, take it. He's not going to stand up and go, no, you can't have it, but he likes the first part for sure.
All right, but nobody has yet to call out the fact that Israel, I don't even think, has the right to give away that land. I mean, it's comical unless, of course, the United States goes in and conquers the land, right? And maybe Israel won't fight it off, right? My question is, then those that are currently Gazans, if you take over that land, do they not then become U.S. citizens?
That's a good point.
Right? I mean, they're not Palestinians, they're Gazans, right? I mean, the bulk happen to be Palestinian people, but they are Gazans. Do the Gazans then become American citizens?
Well, we didn't do that in Iraq. I just think, again, we're like, everybody's it's the same thing that we've all said about this. It's like, can you, when he says something, does he mean it all? Of course he means it. He would love for this to happen. Can he make it happen? I don't think so. But and for a lot of the reasons you're talking about, as a lot of things with him, no one's thought through the consequences or how it would actually be done, or what the costs would be. And I think George Bush, during the Bush administration, after going into Iraq, we shouldn't get into more wars that we don't know how, or get into things that we don't know how we're going to get out of. This would definitely be one of those.
I was with Jesse Jackson Jr., who's a friend of mine, on his radio show yesterday, and this topic came up, and I said, okay, let's even assume for a brief second that the United States somehow takes ownership interest in Gaza. It's approximately 170 square miles, twice the size of Washington, D.C. The whole fucking place needs to be leveled because it's destroyed.
Yeah, it's been leveled.
I'm not going to argue with his notion that, from a humanitarian standpoint, that where are they going to stay? There's no groceries, there's no food, there's no hospitals, there's no housing, there's no roads, there's no sanitation, there's no water, right? How are they going to live? So yeah, I acknowledge that they have to live somewhere, and you can't just give them a tent and tell them to go. But the problem, as I expressed it to Jesse, the ideology, the theocracy behind Hamas doesn't go away because you put up a shiny glass building, because you build industry, because you put homes up, including mega $1 million mansions on the Mediterranean, right? That doesn't go away. So now you'll have a hidden Hamas that will guaranteed end up joining with, say, Hezbollah, with ISIS, with ISIL, with Al-Qaeda. All the stragglers will come together within which to fight the big bad West.
So and all the glass buildings and the big mansions will be like target number one on the Gaza Strip. I mean, the reality too, though, is I understand what you're saying about humanitarianism and where they're going to go, and that his instinct that they have to go somewhere because we got to clean it up and rebuild. But the same reasons that you talk about with Hamas hidden and being inside all of that is the whole reason Jordan and Egypt and no place else in the region is going to want the Gazans to be refugees in their country. They're not. They've never wanted it. They're definitely not going to want it now. And so, yeah, what's happened is their homes have been totally destroyed. They have no place to live, like you said, no water, no food, none of that. But saying, hey, they need to go somewhere, where? Who's going to do the diplomatic work to make that happen? I guess they think they can. And then for what? So that we can build Trump Tower on the Mediterranean, Gaza, and think it'll stand for a long time, given all the groups that you just said will unify the hatred that will develop throughout the Middle East again towards our country because of the act. Have we not lived through this with Iraq and other things that have happened in the past few decades? And by the way, this was a guy who this is America first. We're going to be isolationists. We're going to take all the money and bring it home. I don't know how you're going to rebuild Gaza. Who's going to, this beautiful place will get everybody moved over.
All of our Middle Eastern partners, from Saudi Arabia to the Emiratis to Qatar and so on. But, you bring up a good point, because Egypt and Jordan have already specifically stated that they will not take the Gazans.
They won't.
They've done it. They did it once years ago in the past. I have a very dear friend that lives in Jordan, and he was telling me the story that many years ago that they had a whole slew of refugees from Gaza that came in, and it was absolutely devastating to the Jordanian people, and they kicked them out. But somewhere along the line, somebody's going to have to give in that region, and then they're going to have to transport all of these families. The question becomes, how do they come back? What do they come back to? Who's going to rebuild and why? That's the whole problem. You cannot leave these people in rubble from a humanitarian standpoint. It's just wrong. We didn't do that after World War II in Germany. We didn't do that. We helped them to rebuild industry and land and so on.
But Michael, you and I, that that something being wrong has never stopped Donald Trump before. I understand you and I believe it's wrong, but the reality though, and this is where his just sort of, I'll do it my way, and I don't give a crap if it's wrong or right. I'm just doing it. Somehow, it always runs up against reality. And what I mean by that is the reality of where do these people go is a real reality. Where's the money going to come to rebuild? That's a real reality. Where's the security once you've rebuilt the towers and everything in those mansions? How's that work? And clearly, not per usual, no one's thought any of that thing through other than, him saying we're going to do this. So, like I said, this is like, I'll build a wall and Mexico will pay for it. That never happened.
As they've always said, easier said than done.
Yeah, exactly.
But, if you think about this whole region and everything that's been going on since the October raid by Hamas on the park.
Yeah, October 7th.
On the music festival. The Biden administration was exceptionally careful diplomatically in order to figure out this Israel-Gaza war. So the question I want to ask you is, how damaging is it that Trump is making these type of statements only 3 weeks or so into his presidency when they're still in the middle of hostage negotiation?
No, well, everything he's doing is damaging for the long time. I mean, even stuff that's undone, even stuff that never happens is going like this. It's never going to happen. Is damaging, right? It's destroying any chance of some kind of resolution in terms of whether it's two states or whatever. I mean, I'm not getting into any of that, but there's no way with him doing this that isn't derailed even further than it already has been by both the attack on October 7th and the way Netanyahu prosecuted the war with rubble everywhere and no homes and no food, no water, all that probably may well have already destroyed that option. But this, again, is another nail in that coffin. Pardon, the analogy there, but the reality is it's the same thing with USAID. Whether that happens, fruition, whether they destroy the department or not, the damage is done right now. There, the whole freeze on spending that didn't happen, that got pulled back, but there's still a memo. People, the insane offer of buyouts to the entire workforce. I heard somebody today, maybe it was Ezra Klein, I can't remember, on a podcast talking about, okay, so VA doctors who are doctors of our veterans who are being paid less than they would make in private practice are now being given a buyout option, where they get paid to leave. They leave. Where are the other doctors coming from?
Right.
Just that one thing. I
No,
mean, so
you know what?
again,
Since you decide you want to talk about these mass resignations and the buyouts of all of these federal workers, let's jump into that. Because, like you, when I sat and I heard this nonsense, first and foremost, where's the money coming from? Where's the? I mean, yeah, I don't even know what the amount is. I wish somebody a lot smarter than me, an economist, would turn around and calculate what is the average buyout for a federal worker who has been there for 5 years. And we know that we have people with much longer, but let's
oh,
just say
sure.
5 years. And with Trump now forcing millions, and it's not 1 million, it's millions of federal workers to either resign or take the buyouts. And again, I didn't understand as I was reading that memo. So if you resign, do you not get your buyout? Or do you get your buyout? Or you're going to get fired and then you have, you get the buyout. I don't know how that works. It was a poorly drafted document, but it sounds to me more like a massive dismantling of government infrastructure.
Right. It is.
Okay.
Exactly.
Without using the VA as the example, because it is one of them, what do you think of the consequences of this type of a move?
Well, here's the crazy thing. So you have all these new heads of departments coming in. I mean, new cabinet secretaries, et cetera. Many of them have never been in government or in that department. They have no idea who should stay or who should go. Now you have to ask yourself, I'm a very qualified and one of the best people in this department. For years, I've been sitting across from people in the private sector that I can walk in around, and they're making 3 or 4 times the money I make. But I want to serve the American people. That's why I'm working in government and not out there in the private sector making money. Oh, you don't want me. You're going to let me be bought out. And now I can go work in the private sector and make more money. I'm out of here. That's the guy you want to keep. The guy you don't want to keep is the guy who says, no, I've been sitting here. I'm in this job because I'm a lazy
It's a
government
paycheck.
official. Right. I get the paycheck. So I'm not going to take the buyout. I'll stay. I want to stay. It is the exact opposite. It is like they have created a mechanism to get rid of all of our best and keep the lazy, everything they fantasize that's wrong with bureaucracy and the people in government. You've created a mechanism in which those are the people you keep, and you purge all the quality people who could do better on the outside, better in the private sector, better if you work commerce. If you worked at commerce, you can go work for a company and make more money because you're one of the best. You understand this stuff. And the lazy person just collecting the check, they get to stay because they're not going to take the buyout. And now your new head of that department comes in, and that's who he or she has to work with. And you didn't let that person come in and say, wait, I want to figure out who the best people in this department are. I want to do everything I can to keep them. And then I want to buy out all these lazy people. I mean, in other words, there's ways you could have done this that actually would have been constructive. You and I both know that that a lot of the things that people are concerned, I mean, the American people are concerned about is the are there people in the departments that aren't working as hard as the American people? Yeah, and if they are, let's get rid of them. That I think every American would agree with that. But just the way they've done this is the exact opposite.
Yeah, I can't figure out who's actually benefiting from the gutting of these federal workforce, especially in this way. And it sort of forces me, as I'm sure it does to you and all of my listeners, Is this some sort of an ideological move, as like written in Project 2025, designed to weaken the government? Or do you think that there's something more corrupt here happening behind the scenes? There's something up. I can't put my finger on it, but it's either designed to help weaken the government or there's some corruption going on here, because this makes no sense.
No, it's a return to the monarchy, to a king, right? I mean, the reality is that there's a reason we created the civil service. The reason we created it was because in the old days, I'm sorry, but we're going back there, and actually you see it all around Trump. In the old days, the way everything worked was, who do you know in the government to get what you want, to get the zoning thing fixed or that thing. If you didn't know anybody in the government, if you hadn't given anybody any money, you didn't get anything. You didn't get anything from it. So we put the civil service in place so that it didn't matter who the next so the next administration comes. You don't know anybody. You don't have any connections, and that's how this thing swung back. I'm talking, through a lot of before the civil service. That's how government worked. That's whether it was a dictatorship, a democracy, whatever. Civil servants are people who most of them don't really care what party's in charge. Their job is to make the things work, the programs work, and they tend to try to treat everybody, or they're supposed to treat everybody with respect and equally. This is, no, I want my guys to be the ones deciding who gets the check and who doesn't. And then we'll build up the constituent. If you're a friend, you're going to get your check. And if you're not a friend, oh, geez. And which is not how the civil service works. So no, this is a complete takeover. That's what it is. It's an absolute complete takeover.
You get a postcard that says ES onto it.
Yeah.
Short for eat shit. Right. Yeah. You're not getting it. Right.
Yeah.
It's very, very true. It's like the old days of the robber barons.
Right. That's what I mean. This is about they're getting back to who you know. That's what I mean. If you're close, look, that's what's the thing about an authoritarian is the people closest to them are the people that have the most power, and it goes down from there. And that's not how of, by, and for the people is supposed to work. But that's
but that shit's gone on forever. You know, maybe it's more blatant and obvious with Trump, but the same shit took place in the Biden administration. I mean, if you were close to Biden, you were able to get, a meeting with him, a call with him, even though his handlers, these fuckfaces that were around him, that basically prohibited anyone from speaking to him. They basically put him in a glass jar, and it was almost like break glass jar for appearance and then put him in a new one. But the one thing with Trump is it's in your face.
Yeah,
but this crap's been going on always.
Right. No, but that's that's what I think the frustration of the American people that he was able to tap into was, the knowledge that those who know somebody are getting things and I'm not, right? And then he was able to turn that into, so put me in and I'll fix everything. Overnight, I'll wave my magic wand.
So we're a month already into the new year and things are really stressful. Family, the job, maybe life. Maybe you're in search of something to help you take charge of your life. But most importantly, you need to do it with full mental clarity. Embrace this February and embrace CBD with Via to experience the powerful benefits of hemp without the high. Trusted by over 500,000 happy customers, Via is the Swiss Army knife of wellness, dedicated to harnessing the natural benefits of hemp to create high-quality wellness products. Via's collection of THC-free products, it combines minor cannabinoids like CBD, CBG, and CBN with botanical supplements for targeted effects that you can actually feel. So whether you're looking to improve your sleep, your focus, or relief, Via has something for you. Now, I've tried the THC-free gummies for sleep, and let me tell you, anyone who knows me knows that I've had sleep issues my entire life. I mean, getting up at 4 a.m., these 4 a.m. wake-ups, they just don't cut it when you're my age. I mean, for God's sakes, where has this product been my entire life? Via is also well known for their award-winning THC-free gummies, vapes, THCA flower, soothing topicals, and calming drops, all of which are crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. And the best part, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the US in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. And get a load of this, no medical card required. So let me share some points about Via. First, they're an industry leader with over 500,000 customers served. Another, they're made in the USA, farmed and crafted with care in the United States. And their award-winning service experience their top-notch customer support. They also give you only quality ingredients that are sourced from the finest hemp for your peace of mind. Plus, they're also lab tested and certified. And lastly, affordable, and they're accessible. Their premium products will fit your budget. So if you're 21 plus, check out the link to Via in our description and use code COHEN, that's COHEN, to receive 15% off. And if you're new to Via, you'll get a free gift of your choice. And after the purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. So please help to support our show and tell them that we sent you. This year, enhance your every day with Via.
And a lot of people that you can understand how people, again, because of what you're saying, responded to that. But the fact is, that was all a ruse. That was just all to get power, and to then, now you've got Elon and the billionaires taking over, and I don't see a whole lot of anything that's helping a working person today in this first 2 weeks.
No, to the contrary, hurting them. Gas is up, eggs are up, groceries are up, all the things that we were talking about. But, we brought up before, I asked you, where's this money going to even come from? We have a $37 trillion deficit, a federal deficit of $37 trillion fucking dollars. I don't even know how much the buyouts would ultimately cost the U.S. government, not just in the initial buyout, but remember, you're paying them not to work for 8 months. So my question to you is, where's this money even coming from?
Well, I guess he's going to print it, right? Oh, geez, but that's
Social Security, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. You've got to take, well, all of it. The tax cuts. Where's that money going to come from? Where's the money to rebuild Gaza going to come from? Where's the money to buy Greenland going to come from? I mean,
where's the money to take back Panama Canal? Where's the money in order to annex Canada and annex Mexico? Where is all this coming from?
Here's the really crazy one: is the sovereign wealth fund. Remember, he's going to create a sovereign wealth fund to buy stuff. TikTok to buy these things. Okay, so wait, what's our deficit?
37 trillion.
So sovereign wealth funds tend to be funded by countries that have surpluses. In other words, they've got lots of oil money or whatever, and it's a kingdom. Saudi Arabia, good example. So they've generating a surplus. They take the surplus money and they put it into a sovereign wealth fund to invest and do things that make the sovereign wealth fund more money. We are going to have to borrow money to create a sovereign wealth. I mean, in other words, you're exactly right. So how do you even? I mean, forget all these things that he's been doing. Talk about spending us deeper into debt, including creating the sovereign wealth fund, because we'd have to borrow to fund it, or print money, or cut. You're right. okay, there's only a few things out there, Social Security, Medicare, et cetera, that you could cut to create enough money to do even two of the things he's talking about. We're not, we're already up against, pretty much against.
So you know how Donald's thinking about it, knowing him as well as I do, and knowing that Donald is a transactional guy. He opens up the sovereign wealth fund, and he funds it with the full faith and credit of the United States government, up to $1 trillion. He'll put in $1 trillion. So what? What the fuck's the difference? 37 trillion, 38 trillion. What's the difference? Yeah. But that $1 trillion, he believes that he'll be able to use to make investments. The trillion will make $1 trillion in his mind a year, right? He'll double his money right off the bat because he's able to buy low and have a performing asset. He'll put the $1 trillion back immediately, reducing the deficit down to 37 trillion again, and still have now $1 trillion in the American sovereign wealth fund, the Trump wealth fund. That's what he's really thinking, which I believe is flawed, because I can't understand how, with our Constitution, you can have a sovereign wealth fund or America owning, for example, TikTok, when TikTok could potentially be in violation of some of the laws. So what are you doing? You're suing yourself? Who runs it? Who funds it? Who makes decisions? And the decisions that they're making, are they constitutionally protected or are they violative? I don't know.
It's about creating state media. In other words, that's what X really is now with Elon, right? It's state-aligned media.
Yep.
And so TikTok would just be another part of the portfolio of state. I mean, look, there's plenty of countries where the state owns the media, owns the TV stations.
Italy, Russia.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's plenty of them out there, and I'm sure that's part of his design. This is not, a play to keep this democracy vibrant, right? It's a play to destroy the civil service, to destroy the departments they don't like, to end, to give everybody free reign in his orbit, to do what they want unencumbered, cryptocurrency, all of it, including, I think one of the worst things that's happened is his Trump coin, because it's an absolute pure bribery scheme out in the open. Putin can buy 10 million of those coins at whatever and Trump pockets.
Let me correct you on that. It's technically not really a crypto coin.
Right. Yeah.
And if you look on the site, what he says, it's really a promotional token, right? And so on. Now, it will have a value, right? No different than buying a Trump book. He's saying it's for more like promotional purpose, to have part of a coin, a Trump coin. But you're 100% correct. Putin could come there. He's not going to buy 10 million worth. 10 million at this point in time isn't going to get Trump's attention. So now, to get Trump's attention, you have to add maybe another zero to that.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's not 10 million, it's 100 million or a billion of it. And now he's like, whoa, what is that? Oh, my friend Vladimir, he went ahead, he bought $1 billion worth of my coin, right? And he goes, and now Vladimir Putin calls to say, Donald, you see what I did? Yeah, Donald, you see, right? And he goes, I want to come say hi and have some tea, some chai.
Yes. Poland looks very good to me.
Right.
Whatever. China, the same thing. Any corporation, any one of the billionaires out there can, for $1 billion. I mean, look at what Elon did.
Look at Elon.
Yeah. So
250 million netted him 400 billion.
And there's no reporting on this coin. There's no disclosure. There's no nothing. So this is not about a bunch of MAGA hats buying the coin for their commemorative little thing. No, this is a mechanism for legalized bribery, or like unseen bribery. Let's put it that way.
And by the way, well done to them, because Trump's pulled in over $4 billion on this
already, and it's going to keep up
already.
So there's put a big for sale sign on what you want. Buy these coins, call me up, let's work out a deal. That's now you get back to him. That's what he's thinking.
Let's have lunch. Meanwhile, since we're talking about Elon, he now appears to have an unusual, extraordinary amount of power and control over U.S. financial policy.
Yeah.
How the hell did this happen? And more importantly, how dangerous is this?
Well, I mean, look, the folks he's got going through all the data at the Treasury and access to everybody's Social Security number, all our private banking information, all that stuff is just, I mean, there's a whole reason. There's people in the department, everybody in the department who has no access to that stuff because of how dangerous it is in terms of leaks and what would happen if and it's so structured in a way that any just small movement inside the technology can have big ramifications. So the last thing you'd want is somebody who has never been in there, and I'm not talking about just Elon. I'm talking about the 5 or 6 staff people that he's assigned to do this stuff. It is really
Joe,
crazy.
Yeah, talk about crazy. One of the staff is a young man who is 19 years old. He just finished high school. No, I'm not joking. Kid he's wickedly smart. I understand he's very sophisticated in AI coding and so on. Listen, I have a nephew who's valedictorian of his class this year, right? Perfect score, never got anything less than 100 on an exam, perfect ACT score, the whole 9 yards. I don't want him having access over the country's financial, systems. Why? Well, what do you think Russia could do to a kid like that? Or China, or any country? You send a beautiful young woman, right? Or depending, maybe, he goes the other way, a handsome guy who ends up as a honeypot. This kid he's a child. I don't give a shit how smart Elon Musk thinks that he is. He's a child, and he's basically capable of being manipulating someone who has absolute access, power, and control over our financial systems.
Right, and they none of them have any kind of security clearance or anything. Have you ever had
vetted, right?
Yeah, they haven't been vetted. The whole thing is illegal. Is how I would put it. It's illegal, and the problem is Congress is the one that needs to say no more. And they're not. Of course, guess what? We've seen the statues of courage in the Senate and the House that have bowed and are not going to stand up to this. I mean, look at Cassidy with RFK Jr. I mean, they've all caved. He's broken the Senate, and that means there's no obstacles to any of this except for the courts now, or to what you've seen, like Hakeem Jeffries, I think yesterday, Schatz saying that he's going to hold every State Department nominee. He's going to hold it until the USAID's returned, which I think is important because he's saying, no, the fight for USAID is not over. This is not done. This is ongoing, and I'm going to fight it. But there's not enough of that, and certainly none of it on the Republican side.
To be clear, I want to be very clear, knowing Trump as well as I do, and being somebody who got fucked by the system, by the weaponized Department of Justice. all of these assholes can talk tough. They can all talk tough until they get the subpoena to appear either by hearing or before a court, a federal court in DC, as prompted by our new Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and the entire weight of the United States Department of Justice comes smashing on your head. They can all stand up there on their podiums like Schiff did yesterday, or as you're referring to, and none of them have the courage to stand up truth to power, certainly as I did, and get beaten over the head with a baseball bat again and again and again and again, because you're going to withhold something from the federal government and think that Pam Bondi isn't going to be instructed by Trump to figure out a way how to hold him criminally accountable, and then ultimately find that the courts, which are all now stacked with Trump judges, turns around and says, yeah, 70 months, motherfucker. Have a nice day. In fact, you're not even getting the 60, 70, 90 days that we generally give to defendants to get their life in order on these nonviolent, federal crimes. Take the asshole into custody now. Oh, by the way, there's a beautiful metal bed waiting for you in Guantanamo Bay. Bye. Now what?
Yeah, no.
Who's going to stand up to that?
Well, that's why there's no one standing up on the Republican side, because they've been on the first point of the spear in terms of the death threats and everything else that are happening behind this. Elon Musk calling them, saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to put $50 million in, find an opponent to primary you in your next election. I mean, all these things that have been, I mean, that don't go as far as what you're talking about, but I totally agree with you that that's just we just aren't there yet. But that's exactly why they've used every tool to back down everybody else. They'll just use justice and other tools to push it. The rest, the few people that are willing to stand up, and that's why in the end, the everybody who can needs to obstruct and disrupt what they're trying to do. Every member of the House who's got the ability to do it needs to do it. That doesn't mean they will, but they need to. And all of us, we have to have, I think, realize that this is a real moment where the American people who have the ability to resist should resist, need to resist. We only have, and you know this, there's things move so quickly in these kind of takeovers that we really only have days. I mean, I think 60, 90 days before this becomes, like the momentum and the frame veracity of it and the number of people cowering and backing down all move into place so that he can do what he wants without any obstacles. And so we need to delay, obstruct, put up obstacles. I think Shat's doing what he did. We'll see, how does Trump respond to that? Maybe you're right. Maybe just suddenly he's facing some kind of justice, the Justice Department coming after him. But then the American people are going to see that. And again, is this really what they signed up for?
Well, okay, since we're talking about what they signed up for, one of the things that they did sign up is for the deportation of migrants.
Right.
All right. It was one of the things in Project 2025, and it was something that helped to propel Trump into the White House again. And today we're seeing large-scale ICE raids. They're actually videotaping them, and they're putting them out on all forms of social media. The one thing that is not being discussed is when Trump turns around and says, we have deported thousands and thousands of criminal migrants, the worst of the worst, murderers, drug dealers, rapists, the worst of the worst. In fact, The bulk of the migrants that have been deported have absolutely no criminal record at all.
Yeah, right.
Now, while I understand that this action appeals to Trump's extremist base, I want to ask you, what do you think the impact is going to be on our economy, particularly industries that heavily rely on migrant labor?
Well, it's not just obviously industries that rely on migrant labor are clearly going to be hurt, agriculture and others. But the other side of this is the local communities, because you take 500 people out of a local community, that's 500 people who aren't, and by the way, aren't paying taxes, aren't spending money, aren't going to the grocery store, all that stuff. But the industries themselves, you're going to see prices are going to go up, right? And who's going to do the work? And so, again, this is another one of those policies that are, I think, it may excite the base, but over time, it still amazes me that just about everything he's done or is doing is so inflationary, is so against trying to keep prices down, trying to do what you can to keep the whether it's the price of food, eggs, particularly with today the bird flu now looks, as somebody a health worker in one of today's stories called it a shit show. That it is the situation in terms of how fast this is moving and where it's at now in Nevada is an absolute shit show. And of course, we haven't even talked about health stuff. All of the things that we've talked about.
Every now and then, we're reminded of those many healthy resolutions that we've made over the years, like to lose weight, to exercise more, to eat better. But a goal without a plan, well, it's a plan that's destined to fail. Prolon's 5-day program, it gives you the tools to put your health goals into action with a science-backed plan that makes it easy to stay focused and to achieve real results. Prolon's fasting mimicking diet, well, it's a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making cells believe that they're fasting. Researched and developed for decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by leading US medical centers, Prolon helps support healthy blood sugar, enhanced skin appearance, fat loss, and improved energy and focus post-fast. Now, it all starts with their 5-day program. Snacks, soups, and beverages, all designed to keep your body in a fasting state. No guesswork and no planning required. 3 consecutive cycles of Prolon have been shown to reduce your biological age score by an average of, get a load of this, 2.5 years. And your waist circumference, by 1.5 inches. Prolon is fasting with food. That's right. It's fasting, but with food. It all starts with Prolon's 5-day program. Again, snacks, soups, beverages, all designed to make your body think that it's fasting. So let me be clear. I did the 5-day program and I feel much better. Prolon, really, it's not like any other diet that I've tried. Because you know why? It's not a diet. It's truly science. I mean, it was convenient. They sent me everything that I needed all in one box. To help you kickstart a health plan that truly works, Prolon is offering Mea Culpa with Michael Cohen listeners 15% off. You hear that? 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day nutrition program. So go now and visit prolonlife.com/mea culpa. That's PROLONLIFE.com/mea culpa to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. That's prolonlife.com/mea culpa. Go there now.
God help us if we have another, kind of weird disease epidemic, pandemic kind of thing, and it doesn't look like we've got the bird flu in our sights from a health.
No, we don't. The bird flu actually is now attacking milk producing cattle,
right? Yeah,
and so on. And and this is so now you're going to see, of course, the price of eggs have skyrocketed, 50 cents extra an egg now. If you go into a diner, milk is going to be the same thing because you have fewer, milk producing cattle because of the bird flu.
That's what I'm saying. Then you throw on top of that the migrant workers that are going to be picked up or leave on their own because they're just freaked out about the Fed coming. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Everything that is being done, and then that cascades into a health, a massive health issue for the American people. God knows what RFK Jr. is going to be doing about.
I was just going to make a joke about that. I was going to say, don't you worry, my friend Joe. All right, don't you worry. We got RFK on the job, man. All right, so you could take your fears and so on. You could put them off to the side because RFK Jr. He's on the job. He's got it. Speaking about crazy shit and economy and so on. Look, Trump reversed course on tariffs last week with Canada and Mexico, while keeping them in place with China for 10%. What do you think is the strategy behind this selective economic warfare? I mean, what other than creating anxiety and angst and fear and disruption in in commerce by talking about these 25% tariffs with Canada and Mexico, and now suspended for 30 days. What's behind this selective economic warfare that Trump and his people think is helpful to us?
No, I don't think that's it at all. I think he really loves tariffs, and he really thinks that he knows what he's talking about. And I think the thing that he loves more than tariffs is big down numbers, the stock market. And so again, one of these things where meets reality, fantasy meets reality. Is fantasy is I'm going to declare tariffs and show people how strong I am and everything else, and the market vomits the next day, and his reaction is, how do I turn this into a win? Oh, they're sending 10,000 troops to the Mexico border. I'll delay this for 30 days. Canada basically says we're doing the same thing we've always done about fentanyl. Okay, that's great, and we're out of here, and we'll relook at this in 30 days. He believes it, but he loves one thing more. He wants a record stock market during his tenure. So,
Joe, do you know what the percentage of fentanyl coming through the Canadian border to America is out of 100%?
It's less than 1%, I think.
0.2%.
0.2%.
0.2%.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, okay, we're going to appoint a
fentanyl czar.
Yeah. And that's enough within which to stop for 30 days a 25% tariff that made everybody sick to their stomach. In fact, it knocked 4 cents off the Canadian dollar versus the US dollar to $1.57 or $1.60.
No, that's what I think. It's like, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to do it. He does it. And then he realizes I need to get out of this with something. So, hey, I won. I got the fentanyl czar from Canada in his MAGA crap.
So much winning. You're going to be tired. You're going to be so tired, Joe. Joe, you don't even know what it means to be a winner.
Right, exactly. So they're doing, so that's what that's about. I don't think it's anything other than that. And that doesn't mean he won't return to them. He will.
But you think that these tariffs, which generally backfire on American consumers, despite what his base keeps saying, no, we're not the ones that'll be paying the tariff. It's the country of origin. You think that if in fact that he does reimpose and he goes forward with this ridiculous tariff ideology, that it'll destabilize the economy?
Yeah, I think almost everything he's doing is going to destabilize the economy. I don't know if it's to get. I mean, it's really fascinating because I know a lot of the people around him, Elon and others, Peter Thiel, kind of like desire to like get rid of the dollar, right? You know, I mean, because they want their crypto currency, the reserve, crypto reserve, and everything. But Trump probably, I just think he's again internally. You know him. He wants a strong dollar, a powerful dollar. So there are these kind of like competing realities within his orbit, and we'll see which ones which ones take. But I don't. What did I ask you? What do you think the end of the is Elon and Trump? Is that like an impossible sustainable thing for the two of them to, in Trump's head? I'm talking about since you know him.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. See, the American people don't fully understand Donald Trump properly, and I'm going to give them a quick lesson. Donald needed Elon's money for the campaign. Elon brought in about $257 million. Now, I remember the days like when Mitt Romney or Hillary Clinton raised $1 billion and everybody was like, holy shit, a fucking presidential election, $1 billion raised and spent. These numbers are ridiculous. Elon Musk, one guy, stroked enough money in a short period of time for a quarter of that. In fact, between that second row at the inauguration, Trillionaires Row, because combined they have over $1 trillion, they could fund an entire campaign of $1 billion just off their interest for a week. All right, you get 3-4 guys. Trump doesn't need them anymore. He doesn't need the money. He has the power. And with the power comes the money. He's allowing Elon to do things because he thinks it's going to be successful and that he could declare it as his win. But the second that there's a mistake, like a big mistake that the entire country, including Trump's base, starts to feel, Elon is gonzo. And not just gonzo. You're going to see people like Pam Bondi opening up all sorts of actions and litigation against the entire crew. I was there. It happened to me, which kind of brings me to like the last two questions that I really have for you, Joe, as the hour comes down to its end. We have special elections coming up because Trump tapped many members of Congress and Senate and governors to join his administration. And I see the outcome of those special elections as a very crucial test on how the public, including Republican, Democrat, Independent, how the public is reacting to Trump's first 100 days.
Agreed. I agree that
what do you think? What do you think we should be watching for?
Well, so far, the first two specials that we've already had, the Democrats have outperformed and won. One was a Democratic seat anyway, but it still did 7-8 points better than Harris did against Trump, and then the other one, I think it was a district where Trump had won by 21 points and the Democrat won by like 24 points, a huge, massive swing. Part of that also, though, so I think all these are whether that keeps up, that's important. I think early signals are good. But the other thing that we've seen this before is the reason Democrats do better in the specials and off years is because the MAGA Trump vote doesn't come out the way it does when Trump's on the ballot. And so I think that's something we need to take advantage of now and through these specials, and definitely in 2026.
That's actually my second question to you. How do we do it?
That's it. I think we have to focus on these specials. We have to focus on the House races in 2026, just the House. Nothing. I mean, I understand there'll be governors and other things, but we've got to stop. Delay, disrupt, obstruct. The best way to do that, they only have 3-seat advantage in the House. If we win these specials, or if we, and on top of that, gain seats in the House of Representatives, 2026, we have a House. That means he's frozen. I mean, you fight the House. It's back and forth.
Don't bet your last dollar on that comment. It's impossible to freeze the guy. He will push every boundary known to mankind.
He'll have to go outside, even further outside the law, is what I'm saying, to end around the House, and that could get, whether that leads to impeachment. We get it way ahead of ourselves, but the first steps are win these specials and win the House in 2026.
Joe, thanks for joining me, my friend. Always great to see you.
Great to be with you, Mike. Anytime. And I keep saying we need to get you on my show. We'll do that. That Trippi Show. I hope your listeners will give us a listen. Okay, man.
Call me. I'm there.
Okay.
Thank you, my brother.
Take care.
You got it.